Hello, good evening. Welcome to another interesting Sunday evening edition of Sports 101. As always, we are here to provide you with everything up to scratch regards sports, and then we are here to serve you with the best of sporting discussions. Tonight, we are streaming live on YouTube on sports101.com, and then we are also streaming live on radio via Tadi 99.1 FM. Tonight, we'll be talking about a lot of interesting things, and very soon I'll be joined by my co-panelist, Percy. He will join me very soon. But there are a lot of things that have unraveled over the weekend. I mean, I know that a lot of you are itching to talk about the EPL. A lot of you are itching to talk about the capitulation of Arsenal. A lot of us are also willing to talk about Elche defeating Atletico Madrid by that shock result. And tonight, before we begin anything, we'd like to delve deep slightly into basketball, and we want to talk about Ja Morant. Obviously, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about basketball for those of us who have followed this particular show. We've talked about basketball at length. We all know it's time for the playoffs. We all know it's time where we get into the playoff mood. And then there's been some very interesting results that have gone on in terms of the playoffs. Tonight, we get to see the Game 7 between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. Already, the Boston Celtics are hoping to make it to back-to-back Conference League finals. They are already wanting to meet last season's finalists, Miami Heat, who have defied some odds and gotten their way to the NBA finals in terms of the Eastern Division. We know in the Western Division also, we can talk about the Lakers being the number 7 seed and doing all the things that they have done, knocking out the defending champions in Golden State Warriors, and then gets to pitch against the Denver Nuggets. So interesting scenarios played out over there. So tonight we hope for the Game 7 between Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. But I think that there's a guy in basketball who is fast gaining the reputation of being a bad boy, and it has to be Ja Morant. Ja Morant, when he's on top of his game, I can confidently say he's one of the top 10 young talents in the league. I can mention him in the same circles as Jason Tatum. I can mention him in the same circles as this guy of the Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. I can mention him in the same circle as Donovan Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so this is a guy who is very much a household name in basketball. And this is a guy who is destined for greatness. I mean, we all know some of the things that he can do. We all know some of the plays that he can initiate. He's a leader in this Memphis Grizzlies team, but he keeps turning the wrong turn. Tonight, we are waking up to news that the Memphis Grizzlies have suspended Ja Morant from everything to do with basketball regards their organization, and it is for a simple reason. The simple reason being that for the second time in as many months, he flashed a gun in the faces of everybody on social media. He flashed a gun in an Instagram post, and people have said that, really, what is Ja Morant up to? Why does he want to wreck his career? Why does he want to go that path? And tonight, before we delve deeper into all of the issues, we would want to talk slightly about the Ja Morant issue. Percy, welcome.
Thank you.
Is it a case of misguided youth? Because, listen, we talk about the NBA, we talk about people. In my initial submission, I talked about the fact that when the likes of the LeBron Jameses, when the likes of the Steph Currys, when the likes of the other great players walk away from the scene, we are sure that they hand over the torch to a plethora of would-be superstars. I mean, we can talk about Trae Young, we can talk about Donovan Mitchell, we can talk about Jason Tatum to a large extent, we can talk about Jaylen Brown. Yeah. You understand? So, and we can talk about Ja Morant. Yeah. So the question is simple. Is it a case of him being misguided?
I would have to first greet our viewers for sticking with us and staying with us. And the issue of Ja Morant is more like, I would say it is a premature Rodman. It's a premature Rodman. Why I'm saying that is that if you are a follower of basketball very well, then there is one name that would always resonate when you are talking about the bad boy of basketball and probably sports in general. That is Dennis Rodman. But the funny thing is that when Dennis Rodman was young and he started from Detroit Pistons, he wasn't like this. He started showing his talent before all of this shenanigans started trooping in. With the likes of Isaiah Thomas, they were able to be a formidable force in basketball, winning back-to-back 89-90, beating Chicago Bulls consistently. And all of that time, even with whatever attitude that he was in, he actually focused on the sport. It was after he got relatively, should I say, some success or irrelevance, that was when a few things started popping in. You can talk about probably his relationship with a few ladies, including Madonna and the rest, that sports is lifestyle. I am always of the view that as a sportsman, I am not necessarily concerned about your lifestyle. It's not like you can live any lifestyle you want, but as long as it resonates on the field, it shows on the field, and whatever lifestyle you lead, even if people don't like that lifestyle, whatever you do on the field is able to paper all of those tracks. And even if the lifestyle is that bad, I'm not expecting it to be that is over the top, because for whatever Dennis Rodman was, there was nothing criminal about it. It was probably the way he dressed, the way he did this, and it was all on the pitch, probably his attitude on the pitch or whatever. But when it has to do with sportsmanship, you can't really pinpoint that, okay, Dennis Rodman did this here, he was maybe flashed a gun here or whatever and whatever. But if you take that of Ja Morant, he's flashed a gun before somewhere in March. He's punched a teenager in training in basketball. He's flashed a gun recently. He's had a gun waistband and with a gun in it. He's done the science of guns on Instagram. And you wonder that these greats that we talked about, we talk about Kobe Bryant, we talk about Steph, probably in recent time, we talk about Dwayne Wade, KD. Whenever we talked about them, hardly did we even talk about their lifestyle. We never brought their relationship life in. We never, even with all the riches of LeBron James, when we mention his name, people forget he's even a billionaire. We talk about the sport, what he brings onto the field. But then we talk about Ja Morant for all of his athleticism and all of his talent. We are not able to talk about that. And I don't, if he treads this path, and with whatever that he's doing right now, he might end up being in the books of players who had the potential but were never able. Yeah. I was reading an article about Balotelli 2 days ago, and it was very strange with the way he started. And he himself admitted to the fact that he had some things that he did when he was young. He talked about his jersey that he threw in front of the Inter fans. That was one of them. Liverpool fighting with Henderson over a penalty. He talked about issue when he was in Turkey and a whole lot of things that he wished he could take back. But now he's just 32 years, but he's out. He has so much talent, so much prominence. But because of this attitude being banned, there were times that he drove in Manchester, he drank driving and a whole lot of issues. So for whatever Ja Morant has, he has a prospect. He's an all-star. He's all defensive team. He's there. He's a prospect. He's the one that holds the Grizzlies. Even at this time, you realize that he's really, really an important player. But if he does not concentrate on this sport, the funny thing is that as at the moment, he thinks probably he's young, he's exuberant, so maybe the youthful exuberance kicks in. But as time goes on, your team, your fans, the NBA will get fed up with you. And when they do, that is when, upon all your talent, you might be like an Iverson, who had been traded from the Sixers, and he is now put on a bench, a former MVP, 3-time scoring champion, and he'll be put on a bench. So I don't really like the trend he's going. Joel Embiid came from Cameroon, and he had never played basketball before. He was a handball player, but with all seriousness, now he's an MVP. He came from Cameroon. Now you see Jason Tatum with what he's doing with Celtics. Now when people are even mentioning Kevin Garnett, at least they bring his name in. They mention Paul Pierce. They bring his name in, although he's never won a ring. But then it's all about it. So for me, I'm expecting that, I don't know, probably if he has manager, because at least for footballers, we have managers for them. I don't know if he has a personal trainer, a psychologist or something. He has, and one thing I've realized about all of these players who go wayward is that they don't have parents. Either they have parents who are separated, because for Balotelli, the problem he had was that he was sent into a foster home in Brescia. Yeah, the parents sold him. Yeah. But you would think there was something that there is this hip hop artist, a Hollywood star. Maybe I will end with that. He's called Marlon Wayans. Yes, he's actually a comedian. He said in his neighborhood, in his black neighborhood, when he was growing up, majority of his friends were into drugs, they were into this, they were into that, but they were all as talented as he was. There were times that he wanted to engage himself in that, but the one thing that saved him was he had a parent, or he had a father and a mother. He would try to go out, and he was even saying that one important is not even just the mother, it's the father, because most of the blacks, when they grow up and they have a mother, sometimes they get to a level and okay, we can match up with you, but when the father talks, and he said for him, apart from the father, God saved him. It was the parent that saved him. I don't really know about the background of Jaro, but if his parents are around, if he has friends around, because if they get fed up with you, they trade you, you are on the down spell.
Well, quick one. I think that you've spoken a lot about Jamoran. Jamoran, clearly talented. And I would want to draw parallels with somebody like Jason Tatum, in the sense that you spoke about the fact that Jason Tatum was raised by a single mom.
Yeah.
And, the interesting thing is that Jason Tatum's mother is a manager. And that all of his money goes through the mom. Yeah. Save the endorsement.
Just like Hakimi.
Yes. I mean, all of his so
money goes through a Hakimi.
Yes, I mean, not necessarily a Hakimi, but he is more. I think that somebody needs to wake up. Jamoran.
Just like Anthony Joshua. I think Anthony Joshua is still cooked for by the mom. He stays with the mom.
Well, I think that Jason Tatum is what's his name? Jamoran is too talented to go down this.
He's too talented,
and for me, he needs to wake up. Talking about waking up. I think Lucky just walked into the studio and then...
yes, he walked in. He will join us soon. He will.
Talking about waking up, I think that Snuff fans need to wake up finally.
From oblivion.
Yes.
They need to grasp reality.
Yes.
Like in Eminem's rap.
Like
grasp onto reality.
like this is rapture. Like this is rapture.
They should come to a conscious...
Bodies are being lifted to heaven.
They should be aware.
If you believe in
They shouldn't think it's a dream. They should be...
What happened?
You see, this is what a giant despair gets you. And when we started in the season, with this season, there were some things I said, and I made it emphatic that when you are in a race with latter-day in Manchester City, they never lead the table. Never. 2012, they allowed Manchester United to start the race. And when it got to the last 4 matches, United met Everton. Jelavic and Fellaini made the match 4-4. And it brought the whole thing to 2. In fact, 3 points. Yeah. Then they met City. So City had been second fiddle throughout. They met City, and City scored United 1-0 with a company. And the final match, City won. If you take the second time they won, 2013, 2014, Arsenal were in the lead for over 100 and something days. Then Liverpool took over. City were at the back watching.
Pellegrini.
It took 2 matches.
That was Pellegrini.
Yeah. 2 matches. One was Liverpool versus Chelsea when Dembaba and Willian. The second...
I think that's one episode that you never want to remind Liverpool fans of.
And the second one was with
Gerrard Slade.
And the second one was with Crystal Palace.
Yes, a 3-3 or 4-4.
3-3.
Yeah, 3-3.
3-1 first half.
Yeah.
And second half,
Crystal Palace equalized.
And the last match, City with Nasri, the same thing. So I'm just giving you, this is how City wins. 2017-2018 was the time that City were emphatic. That was when they won the 100 points. 18-19, Liverpool was leading. Then they slipped once and they took over. That was when they had a 96 or 97 useless points. They never let it go. It got to a time that when they were even against Leicester, it took a company go from almost the center to get them a win. Yeah. So I'm giving, and last season, it got to a time City were 10, 12, 20 straight wins. Yeah. And they were at the top. So if you were playing with them this season and you had gone, and the funny thing, do you know that they've set a record? Over 250 games on top of the league.
Arsenal?
The record was with Newcastle.
Arsenal?
Yes, they
set a record.
95-96. Newcastle were on top of the league.
250 days.
250 days.
Wow.
And Newcastle were on top for about 220-something days, and United took over. They've done that record before, 07-08. Arsenal.
Wow.
Over 150 days, and United came and took the league.
So they upgraded from 150 days to 250
So
days.
when we started and we're like, no, these people, because I remember you listed the last 5 matches, where like, they will really fall at the header. So one of the things was fatigue and lack of depth. Because with City, they can afford to change a whole 11. But when they had issues with Bukayo Saka injured, and even when they had Gabriel Jesus injured, they had Nketiah coming in. But and the second was the fall of Partey. Probably they didn't see. Partey was one of the most equal to a time.
No, but this was a guy who was mentioned.
People dead said that they
guy who was mentioned in the same vein as Casemiro. People told me that he was better than Casemiro.
They said it was better than Essien.
Yeah.
And
Essien. Michael Essien.
Such a sacrilegious statement. And we're like, seriously? Okay, because by then he was on top of the world. And remember the signing of Jorginho. I sat here and I said that Jorginho is twice the player Partey will ever dream of being. And Jorginho will usurp Partey from the position. I had a lot of comments. Past 3 matches, Jorginho has taken the position because Partey is very inconsistent. And Partey was the driving force of Arsenal. So when Partey fell off, everything started. So they should have grasped reality when the first draws came in. Because now, the next match, all City need is a win. Even if they draw because of the goal difference, City has won. And we had an argument in that. So if the season ends, are Arsenal successful? I think probably. Let me ask you that. Yeah. Are they successful?
Well, I don't think they are successful. I have said on this show that if the season ends and they go on the run, I still believe mathematically it is possible for Arsenal to win the Champions League. So to win the league, sorry. So I am not going to count them out. As Arsenal fans, I believe that they have the mathematically they are in the shout to win the league. So I believe with all my heart. But the truth of the matter is that if the season ends and Arsenal fail to win the league, there should be heads that should roll. Because for me, Arteta is the reason for this capitulation. You understand? I've said it here. People have said, oh, Arsenal have overachieved. Arsenal have done this and that.
Heads should
roll because for any club that has serious standards, I think that there should be a serious inquiry into this self-capitulation by Arsenal. This was not anything engineered by City. This was not anything to do with the chase of City. This was everything to do with Arsenal and their self-capitulation. And so I think that they need to hold a serious inquiry. Listen, a day ago, we talked about the Phoenix Suns and the firing of Monty Williams.
Yeah.
Listen, Monty Williams is somebody who has taken the franchise to another level. Yeah. But the owner is not mediocre. He is not somebody who is going to rely on past glories and all of those other things. Because for Arsenal to be in the position that they were and not win this league, I am saying that, listen, in the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, Arsenal will not come anywhere close to winning this league trophy.
That's too emphatic.
I say that because Liverpool are going to get stronger. I have said that Chelsea and the Pochettino are going to be a stronger proposition. You might have all of the things that you want to say against Chelsea, but the Pochettino, they are going to be a strong entity. Manchester United potentially could be taken over by the Qataris, and then you have somebody like Eric Ten Hag making the team stronger. City will definitely get stronger. Liverpool are going to get stronger. So I think that Arsenal are not going to find themselves in this position that they found themselves in. And for me, there are a lot of things that need to be looked at. Listen, I want to look at today's defeat. It was as lame as the word comes across. Because you knew this Brighton team, you know of their energy levels, you understand? You know that this Brighton team is a team that likes to run and press and hound opponents into making mistakes for 90 minutes, you understand? And then you make changes, you understand? Why did Saka play the game for 90 minutes? Why did he change Chaka? You understand? So I think that there are serious issues that need to be addressed from the manager's perspective. I think that Arsenal, I have said on this show time without number, I don't want to sound a broken record. I've said on this show time without number that Arsenal do not have the temerity to win the league, and they have shown. I mean, next week I'm sure that Lucky would avail himself for the shave. You understand? But
I think we have to announce next week the shave will be on.
But I think
it will be live. It will actually be live. I think that
this is akin to a walk of shame, and Arsenal deserve to bow their heads in shame for a team that was on top of the league, per your own words, for 250 days, and to bottle it. The only team to not once, not twice, on a couple of occasions. So this is a team that comes in with a certain history, and I think that there needs to be a grand inquiry into the self-capitulation of Arsenal. I would not want to subscribe to this today to the brilliance of City. I think that Arsenal have hurt their own selves, and everything that we are seeing today is as a result of Arsenal self-capitulating rather than City being over-magnificent.
Yeah, I think for this one, I'll have to assert to what you said, because we've had two situations where we've had
yes, we at this point we would get to invite Lucky into the conversation. Lucky just walked into the studio some few minutes ago, and Lucky would obviously be welcome into the conversation. And then Lucky, how are you?
I'm great.
Charlie, are you all geared up for the shave? Because Charlie, it's going to be a grand series.
It would really be good on you. You should tell your wife. I think she should be aware.
The matter is that we are not going to use any clippers. Shaving cream, blade.
No,
you understand?
If you do that, I'll have a razor bumps.
No, don't worry. We'll bring all the spirits, the methylated spirits.
Know me from GSTS right down through to UCC. I actually never used to keep hair.
Okay.
No problem.
We'll take you back.
So
we'll take you back.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that my wife will not be excited.
Yeah, so you probably have to trash that with hair before you come here, because we are set. The fans are actually ready.
But if it happens, next week could be exciting. So guys, watch out. I'm hoping that Chelsea will give Arsenal a new lease of life by postponing
the kingmakers themselves. They are in trouble
by postponing my 30-minute walk of shame on these studios. But I think that, listen, the league is all set and done. It's all set and done. So next week, my hairstylist, the barber, the clippers, everything is ready. For a beautiful episode next week.
Well, do you think that Arsenal will ever find themselves in this position again? Can Arsenal win the league in the foreseeable future?
I think that it all boils down to the players, the manager, and the entire Arsenal hierarchy.
Can they go again?
I will address that. If the entire Arsenal hierarchy feel that this is a huge, leap in terms of progress, they can build on this season's success and really challenge for honors. I think that if they do the right recruitment if they have the right mentality, Arsenal can go again, because I'm looking at the possible competitors next season. Obviously, City will be there. Obviously, Manchester United will be there. I do not want to think that Chelsea will be serious contender, because they are now building a new team, and you do not use one season to become serious contenders unless you have somebody like a Jose Mourinho, who his personality alone. So for me, I do not want to bring in the element of Chelsea, but there will be close to about 4 teams. Newcastle, you can also count them in there because of the money that they have. They will try and, recruit some few players here and there. But Arsenal, I think, can go again next season if they're able to do things right. Some teams with mediocre mindset will feel that, hey, we've achieved. We are in the Champions League. Arsenal have been out of the Champions League for God knows how long. Now they are in the Champions League this season. People saw them as potential league winners. So in the eyes of mediocrity, they may say that, hey, we've achieved a lot. But if they see themselves, if they want to build a team akin to what City have done, what Liverpool have done in the last 7 years, I think that Arsenal can go.
Well, I was reading an article on The Athletic. We spoke about Pochettino and his methods, and the fact that when he walks into the dressing room, he wants to make the dressing room his own, you understand? And so he analyzes the players, looks at the players who are on board with his methods, and then makes a clear decision. And so when he walks into that dressing room, he's the manager of that dressing room. Yes, a lot of people can speak about the fact that at PSG, he did not have that level of control. Yeah. But you look at Arsenal, you look at this capitulation, will the players ever trust that manager?
I think that the players will trust the manager.
No, listen, because I say so because, listen, this is a manager who I think that this capitulation lies at the doorstep of the manager. Bad tactical moves, bad decision in terms of playing body, bad decision in terms of rotating the players and game management. Will they ever trust these players? These players are not fools. When all is said and done, they would also hold an internal inquiry. Today, Zinchenko was not on the pitch, you understand? So they do not have their famous meeting on the pitch, you understand? But I think that when you look at all of the circumstances surrounding Arsenal and their self-capitulation, I choose to call it a self-capitulation because I do not think that City winning this league was down to the brilliance of City. I think it was down to the inefficiencies and everything not functional about these functionalities of Arsenal. So will the players ever trust Arteta?
I say that the players will trust Arteta. Whatever project Arsenal have been on the last 3 seasons can be attributed to Arteta. And all of us sitting here, we could have a unanimous decision. Have we seen Arsenal grow leaps and bounds? Yes. The Arsenal we saw 3 seasons ago are not the same Arsenal we are seeing now. We are seeing an Arsenal that is playing to a set pattern. Take away Manchester City, Arsenal are the only team to, for me, in my eyes, that play the most organized football. Probably Manchester City and Brighton. They play the most organized football. Their transition is akin to none. Their positional play is akin to none. It's all the handiwork of Arteta. He's very young. This is arguably his first senior managerial job. We've seen coaches grow on the job. It all boils down to the hierarchy at Arsenal trusting the manager. If they repose that trust in the manager, then it can, be replicated in the dressing room, because these boys are young boys. And most of these players were literally, are literally being groomed by Arteta. Odegaard, name them. Yes, take away, Gabriel and Zinchenko, who've been under, even these 2 players were under his tutelage when he was the assistant manager at Manchester. So literally the entire Arsenal team is his team. He's put together a very solid team. I always say that most of the time the players are a reflection of the manager. And you said one thing that I agree with you. The latter stage or the latter days of the EPL in terms of the competition, I think that Arteta made some few mistakes in terms of how some games you should have managed them well, some games you should have taken certain decisions that would have favored Arsenal, because that draw with Sunderland, that draw with West Ham, even that draw with Liverpool, I think that for a team that is looking ahead to annexing the title from Manchester City, you do not make some of these rookie mistakes, and these were rookie mistakes. And he's a learning manager, he's a growing manager. I think the players will trust him. I'm seeing Arsenal possibly Now they would have money from the Champions League. Now when it goes to the Edu and the likes, I need 200 million pounds. They will give him that money. It's up to him to splash that cash very, very well, Kofi, because we've seen throughout the league that one thing that has gone well for Manchester City that a lot of people have lost sight of is their ability to recruit players very, very well. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was talking about the fact that he actually spoke to the hierarchy of United that there's this young chap that I see for the future. Yeah. Go and snap him up.
For £4 million.
United will probably be winning the league by now. Yeah. You know, last 2 weeks, I spoke about the fact that Arsenal actually scouted Julian Alvarez, but I do not know why they didn't go for him. So we could also attribute some of these things to certain decisions from the top that, in a way, hopefully, if things are done right, listen, I do not think that Arsenal will fall off the pedal. I'm going to see an Arsenal team that will improve next season and will become stronger. It all boils down to how the manager is able to motivate and reinvent this team, because truth be told, what Pep Guardiola has done, and Percy always talks about the fact that being able to re-motivate a team that has self-actualized is very, very difficult. What have they not won? 4 in 5. They're about to do... I'm talking about in terms of the Premier League. They've won literally everything. 4 in 5. They're about to do 5 in 6. How do you motivate these boys the following season? But season in, season out, they seem to want it more and more and more. So there are a lot of extraneous variables that will need to come into play to ensure that Arsenal will be able to become competitive next season. But I see them as being competitive.
Who finishes in the top 4?
I'm surprised and Lucky is saying something like next season and Arsenal will be there and all of that, and it's a learning process. How many years has he been?
4 years.
How many years? 4 years. Listen,
4 years.
Mourinho was
4 years.
He was at Benfica.
Top of the league for 2
and he was at Benfica. After 3 months, 4 months, he left. He went to the year. Then he came to Porto. So his first full season. Porto, before that, they had been in relegation. They had been second fiddle to Benfica. He brings in. You are talking about young chap. He came and sacked all the grown men, just like he's done to Aubameyang. And he brought in the likes of Deku, outcasts like Manish. He brought in Nuno Espirito Santo, that bearded man. He won the league. He won the first treble, I told you yesterday. Then he went the next season and won the Champions League. So I hate that thing about rookie. I don't want to hear rookie. You were studying under Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
Yes, you were studying under Pep Guardiola. Again.
And you've been at the post for 4 years.
4 years. So
4 years.
For that, let me put that one aside.
You're no rookie.
Listen, Leicester had this opportunity.
They didn't
15, 16.
Yeah.
You are talking about squad depth. Did they ever change the lineup? Let me give you the lineup. It never changed. Kasper Schmeichel, Robert Hood, and Wes Morgan. Right, Danny Simpson. Left, Robert Fuchs.
Yeah.
Midfield, there was Danny Drinkwater, N'Golo Kante. Then there was Mark Albrighton, Riyad Mahrez, Shinji Okazaki or Ojua, and Jamie Vardy. What was the change? Let me tell you the change.
Nothing.
Ojua leaves, Okazaki comes. Mahrez is never substituted. Schmeichel, even if his hand is broken, he will play. When they started, from the beginning, they were like, okay, the season before, we were almost going on relegation. Let's relax. Go and check their interview. 10 matches to the end. Claudio Ranieri, Charlie, they can win. That was when they started managing games. So they knew it was a possibility. You can talk about Blackburn Rovers. They had this opportunity. 95-96, when they had Alan Shearer and Tim Sherwood.
Yeah.
They realized that season, the season before, United had won back-to-back. The moment they saw that Eric Cantona had been banned for 8 months, it meant that the lifeline of United has been sacked. They meticulously were there. They stood. That was 94-95 actually. They stood firmly. And the last day, I always say the last day, it was and the Cole ball that hits the bar. That was what made them win. So I have given you 2 instances of teams that were relatively called underdogs. Arsenal is not I don't want us to think they are under. You've won the league 13 times.
Yeah, royalty.
You are royalty.
Yeah.
When they won the 13th time, that was when Arsenal won. Let's even say when United won the 7th time. Arsenal had won it 10 times. 10 times. It was Wenger that came and won it in 98, 2002, 2004. So you were royalty. Arsenal was a big team before Manchester United. That is what people should understand. They were a big team.
In the league.
If you were talking about the league, it was Liverpool and Arsenal who were fighting. Liverpool were on 7, were on 18. Arsenal were 10. United were 7. So they are a big team. And they shouldn't. Do you know how much they bought Gabriel Jesus? See, I don't know why people are like, oh, and we're nowhere. We were actually nowhere. You bought Gabriel Jesus. Mm-hmm. You bought Alexander Zinchenko. Mm-hmm. You brought in a way. You had already brought in Partey. Look at how much they bought Partey.
Yeah.
And you are still saying you are building.
What are they building?
No, what are you building?
That's
See, when the issue has to do with United, you are saying that they are doing things that they are not really moving forward or backward. But this is 19 years.
And this is the 4th season of the manager.
Fourth season of the manager. So you had the opportunity. You had the opportunity to win the thing.
Like I think it's only fair that you come in because I mean.
Listen, the last thing you even asked that will Arsenal come back to this again? Yeah. Listen, this is like you had a visa to go to US. Everything has been done for you, and you go to the embassy and they ask you, will you come back? And you're like, hey, this opportunity, I will never. And they bounce
this
you
country.
Forget
this country.
They will blacklist you. They will blacklist you for 20 because, like you said, it wasn't like the individual brilliance of City, like the 17-18 that they blew it with 100 points. Chelsea were going through turmoil. Liverpool, we are in the cursed season of Klopp. Things were not really gelling up. United had a new coach that had issues with Ronaldo and the rest. Newcastle now has the money. They can't buy at so they can just bring in Isaac, Manit Guamares, and Miguel Amaro. So you are the only team who can compete because for Liverpool, let's put Liverpool aside. You are the only team who consistently had not really had issues. You are building from behind because last season it was left with just a few. You were supposed to be in the Champions League. It was just a few issues that came in.
It was another self-capitulation.
Yes. Then you brought in a winner in Gabriel Jesus. So we were expecting that was so you do if you have not won it before like Leicester. And Leicester is second. We call that success.
And then on the 10th of April, the manager comes out to tell the whole world that they will win the league.
So why are they now saying that it's not successful?
They can win the league.
So it is.
I think it's only fair that Lucky can.
He has to.
So I've been listening to you guys, literally make it look like whatever Arteta has done, we shouldn't actually praise him or we shouldn't actually give him credit. Listen, those elements or those instances that you listed, they're one-off instances. How many times across Europe have you seen a Leicester situation happen?
I've seen Bordeaux. I've seen Montpellier. I'm just listening.
That's what I'm saying. That
Napoli
those things,
Napoli after almost 33 years.
Yeah, those things happen once a while, and you only see it 4 or 5 seasons after.
But Arsenal is not in Napoli. Arsenal is a cathedral.
My point is, people say Arsenal is a cathedral. Arsenal is a cathedral. The Arsenal team of 2002. It's not the Arsenal team of 2022. Neither is it the Arsenal team of 2023. The Arsenal team of 2005, when we are making mention of the Invincibles, that's not the Arsenal team now. So you can be a cathedral then, but situations may lead you into circumstances that you cannot rely on past glory and tell me that because Arsenal have won 13 league trophies, 14 league trophies back then, the strength of Arsenal back then can be compared to the strength of Arsenal now.
I think that to be fair to the conversation, just a quick one, to be fair to the conversation, the point here is simple, that you played yourself into a certain position, and you played yourself into a position of strength. We do not expect that you show levels of naivety because you have a rich history when it comes to that particular competition. So when you have played yourself into that position of strength, yes, unlike Leicester City, yes, unlike Blackburn Rovers, we cannot mark you with the same parameters because you are a team that has won 13 league
You have the financial muscle. You have everything.
That is what I'm saying. Listen. A team is made up of individual elements. The individual elements make up the team. So the mental fortitude of those individual elements will come together to ascertain the strength of the team. Now, if you tell me that, they are a cathedral, they've played themselves into a position of strength, who are those individuals who play themselves into a position of strength? The average age of this Arsenal team is 22. The average age of this Arsenal team is 22. So you are literally talking about infants in terms of football, because for football age, 22 years, you are very young. So literally, that's what I'm saying. You make mention of Porto. How many times have we seen a team do Porto in the last 5 years?
But at least that is an example.
So what I'm saying is, those things, we always say that for every rule there is what? An exception.
Did you check the Monaco team that won?
So let me
the
say,
French league in 17.
Let's say that those times too, they are what? Exceptions. So in let's say in 5 years, you'd always have one exception. In 10 years, you have those discrepancies. So yes, where I agree with you is the fact that if you play yourself into a position of strength, listen, as I'm sitting here, Kofi, if I get to a point where I believe that I have the opportunity to grab the success that is staring at me, I will do everything within the lifeblood that is in me to grab that position. That's why I feel that the manager has let the players down, because I feel that the onus lied on the manager to ensure that he will do every single thing possible to whip up these young boys. Because not even most, apart from Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko, none of them have tasted Premier League title glory before. None of them have been in this position before, apart from these two players. Saliba is just returning from loan from the French league. Gabriel Martinelli, Saka, none of them have been in this position before. Arteta, you've seen it, you've done it for 4-5 seasons with City. Zinchenko, you've been there before. This is where you find a way to get these boys to ensure that they will push City to their limit, but they capitulated in the end. But it doesn't take anything away from the fact that this Arsenal team, for me, is still young. They will need some re-injection. Listen, as good as the City team is, they looked at the team and they realized that, okay, we need to strengthen in wide areas. They brought in the captain of Aston Villa. As good as this City team is, as whatever you may say the Manchester United team is, who did they bring in? A World Cup winning Varane, a Champions League winner in Casemiro. That is what I'm talking about, because when you are assessing the strength of this Arsenal team, you need to also consider the opponents that Arsenal are facing. This City team, at a point, have made the league so difficult that 97 points cannot win you the league. That should tell you the mammoth tax that Arsenal are having to face, because we've seen in a season a team with 97 points miss out because Manchester City were so good that they had 98 points. Tell me if I am being, overly emotional, but the current dispensation we find ourselves in, if you want to win the league, check the points that City are likely to get and try and double it, or at least surpass it by 1 point. That is the only time you can get to win the league. So I think that let's cut the players some slack. I agree with you when you talk about the fact that when the opportunity was there, because at some point they were 8 points ahead of Manchester City with they playing the same number of games, but they bottled it. But I think that let's give this team, they are a young team, they're a growing team. I think this team will come good next season.
Quickly before we wrap up on this, you point out an interesting perspective, and the perspective is the fact that they need injection. You mentioned the likes of the Grealishes going to City. You mentioned the likes of the Varanes going to Manchester United, Casemiro. Would players find Arsenal that attractive to join the project?
Now,
would world-class players find Arsenal that attractive, like Osimhen? Would you want to join us now?
For a player to join a team, it's not just the club, or because you've qualified for Champions League, the player would want to come. What will make Ibrahimovic drop from Champions League and come and play Europa? What would make Pogba, with all of his flamboyance in 2016, to drop from Champions League to come and play Europa? The manager. So the manager is one. Now, if a player wants to come and play for Arsenal, let's say an Osimhen. Osimhen was with a Napoli team that was daring to do, because they were in a position that the league had been dominated 9 years by Juventus, 1 year by Milan, another 1 year. These are the royalties. And they start winning and winning. They had a Spalletti who could put it in their mind that whatever Maradona was able to do for their team 33 years ago, they can do it. And they have been able to do it. And he's looking at trying to go to the next level. And he watches us now, who is trying to do, in quotes, what they also wanted to do. Because for them to 19 years, and the team is trying to get to the next level, and just the last 5 matches, everything capitulates. Whichever player looks, or whoever looks at it, the first thing that comes into their mind is that the coach was not able to motivate them to that extent. So for me, Arteta will be a factor. And you know, Arteta is not a coach who can manage egos. Let me put it in quotes. He thinks that for everything to work for him, he has to get relatively either younger or hungrier players who have, in quotes, not really been to the top, maybe the mammoth in terms of maybe the A-class players. Because for that, it will be very easy to manage you. This is the problem of most of these young coaches, Lampard, Gerrard, and the rest. And this is an Osimhen that now, whether you like it or not, he's a superstar. He's a superstar. So imagine you bring someone like Osimhen in. How do you manage him? How do you manage him? Because even Aubameyang, Lacazette, you have to push them off. You almost push Xhaka off. So one will be the manager. I am really thinking about them. I don't want them to think that because of Champions, it was those times that, okay, Championship get to them, but now players are not moving necessarily because of Championship. Coach is one. The finances is two. And they want to get into a team that they perceive to be a winning team. What are the players that Arsenal could get? Even when they were in the position of winning the league, Mikhailo Mudryk, Mikhailo Mudryk chose a struggling Chelsea over, and so it should tell you where the whole thing is. It is not a matter of the fact that Arsenal have achieved that position.
Was that money? Motivation?
So money too is the second thing. It's the money and the coach. See, if you put Pochettino here, you put Arteta here, you say a player should pick. And there are 100 players. You don't need a rocket scientist to tell you. Probably those who would pick Arteta are maybe a few players who maybe buy into. I'm not saying he's a bad coach.
He's an okay coach.
He's just an okay coach. But Pochettino, if for nothing at all, Southampton just went on relegation yesterday. He took Southampton when they came to Championship. He made them a force to reckon it, and he left it for Ronald Koeman. Then he went to Tottenham. And look at what he did with Tottenham. Save the fact that even the season that they didn't buy players for him.
That's the Champions League final.
Champions League final. He almost won the league into it. So whatever Arteta is now trying, he's done it. So for players to move to Arsenal, they shouldn't think that the Champions League is a guarantee, because if the team is big, if the team has that coach that has that clout like Mourinho, he would be able to. Casemiro left Real Madrid that was playing in Champions League to come and play for Ten Hag. So I think that for them to leave, for the players to come, Arteta would be a factor. He would have to convey, because I was very sad when Mudryk, and nobody in football, nobody knew him.
That guy is not serious. That guy, I think that Arsenal got a better replacement in Trossard.
Trossard.
No problem.
I hold a different opinion. Listen, what I agree is that, players, one influential factor in a player moving is one, the manager who he's going to play under. He needs to look at the manager that, can I develop under this manager? Can I grow my skills under this manager? 2, can I win laurels? Will I win laurels with this team? And 3, the finance. I think that Osimhen, whatever he's done in the Italian Serie A, Osimhen is not a superstar. Let's you see, if Osimhen is a superstar, then what is Erling Haaland?
Is Lukaku a superstar?
Lukaku is a superstar. This is a guy who has thrived in the English Premier League. Listen, people, it is so easy for you to tell me that you flourish in the Italian Serie A. Listen, for all intent and purposes, the English Premier League is one of the most difficult league to play in. You can come from, Alvaro Negredo.
You talk.
He was a big guy in the La Liga.
Yes.
winning what is it called? Goal Pichichis. I mean, battling with Suarez.
He never won Pichichi.
Battling with Suarez and the likes. Alvaro Negredo comes to the to.
But he was playing as a second striker to Aguero.
Alvaro Negredo comes to Manchester City. One season he scores 20 league goals. The next 2 seasons he couldn't score even double figures. He shipped out. So for me, you can be whoever you want to be in any of these. And truth be told, if you look at the Italian Serie A this season, who is that one guy that competition-wise Osimhen is fighting with in terms of goals?
But it's not about the competition; it's the number of goals he scored.
I'm coming. Zlatan has been
out. You don't add him.
Lukaku walked into an Inter Milan team with his own issues and I mean a whole lot of issues. So even in the Italian Serie A, I'm looking at who is Osimhen competing with. How many goals did Osimhen score? Osimhen did not even score 28 league goals.
No, he already has 27. The league has not ended.
He has not scored 28
so
league goals.
So he can.
In an Italian Serie A that I think is about a 3rd-tier league in Europe, you are not a superstar.
Yeah.
Osimhen cannot consider himself.
Is Immobile a superstar?
Immobile is not a superstar. I think that let's stop throwing around. Let's stop throwing around words. We've been in this game for long. We've seen superstars. There are stars.
European Golden Shoe winner is not a superstar.
There are stars and
Ronaldo,
come on.
Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo.
These are people.
Ciro Immobile.
Shevchenko.
You are saying that no.
Exactly.
No. Please, before you let me ask you this question. You are saying Lukaku is a superstar.
Lukaku is a superstar.
I'm coming.
How many
I'm coming.
Yeah.
Ciro Immobile is not.
It's not.
Between Ciro Immobile and Lukaku,
yeah,
which one is a better striker?
I would choose Lukaku any day.
Let's continue.
Ciro Immobile's ever best tally in Europe. He's done it in just the Italian Serie A. Lukaku has done it in England and has done it in Italy. So if you sit back and want to argue that Immobile is a superstar or Immobile is a far better striker than Lukaku, I always say sometimes we look at our, sometimes we make fun of personalities, but Lukaku for me is one of the most proficient strikers that we've seen across Europe. He may have had his issues, but in England, look at his time with Chelsea. Look at his time at Manchester United. Even in Manchester United that people perceived that he didn't have a great season, he hit 19 plus goals in the league. Goes to Italy under, Antonio Conte. That's literally wipes the floor with the so-called superstars who are in the league. So why would you, when Immobile moved to the Bundesliga, what did he do? So you leave your comfort zone. You couldn't do anything. That's what one problem I would wish and I pray. The reason why I would pray Osimhen succeeds is because he's an African. But I fear for the team that will acquire him, because if you base your acquisition of Osimhen based on what he's done in Italy, you will be making the Darwin Núñez mistake.
Dashing.
Because listen, I have seen Luca Toni.
Yeah.
Do a record that nobody has done in the Serie A. 31 goals.
This guy
31 goals in the Italian Serie A. He moves to
Belotti.
Andrea Belotti. He did it with Torino. And I'm saying Roma Kai with the
Deportivo La Coruña. And this is a caution to any player who is going to the Italian Serie A to acquire a striker. Because they've been a sequence or a series of events. Look at Tony. 31 plus league goals in the Serie A. He moves to Bayern Munich. Where is Luca Toni now? Belotti, 2 seasons running, he was arguably the name on everybody's lips. That's it. Vlahovic, 2 seasons ago, he was the ish in Italian football. This season, look at him. So for me, it will be so easy for you to, bask in the glory of Osimhen. Osimhen has not reached the status of superstar level. Osimhen would love to play for Arsenal. Arsenal is one of the biggest teams in England. Let's not make it look like, yes, Arteta may be a young coach, but Osimhen would love to play under Arteta. And I would not even want Arsenal to acquire Osimhen. I would love Arsenal to go scout around the Premier League and secure somebody like the Tony from Brentford. I would wish that Tony would lead the lines for Arsenal than Osimhen, because Osimhen is a risk. It's a huge risk you might pay 100 million euros for and you will not succeed.
150.
Do you get my point? So I think that, players would come to Arsenal. Players will come to Arsenal. But it would all be dependent on who Arsenal is competing with for those players. Because if Arsenal is competing with City, forget. If Arsenal is competing with City for a player, there is no way the player will look at Manchester City. I'm going to be trained by Pep Guardiola. The possibility of winning a trophy, I will choose City. Even Manchester United, even though United have not won any major trophy in the last 5 seasons or the Premier in the last 5 seasons, if a player has the option of choosing between United and Arsenal, Manchester United will have a higher leverage than Arsenal because of how low Arsenal has sunk. But Arsenal will certainly get players depending on what they want. They don't necessarily need big name players. I look at this Arsenal team. 2 key areas Arsenal need to strengthen: the right fullback and the striking position, because immediately they acquired Gabriel Jesus, I said it was a disaster in waiting, because Gabriel Jesus will not even give them 20 plus league goals, and you can never win the league if you do not have a striker who is willing to give you 20 plus league goals. How many goals has Gabriel Jesus scored this season? But he is their number 9. Martinelli is an out wide player, but he's the guy leading in terms of goals and assists. So for me, Arsenal need a proper number 9. I think that Ivan Toney will be a good number 9 for Arsenal because he's strong, he's played in the league, he's used to the terrain. Osimhen will be a huge risk.
I think on this note, we've had our comments are just buzzing. I think we just have to go through a few of them.
I wanted to hide.
You want
to hide because of my
on stage. We are to remind you, we are live on radio Tadi FM 99.1, and you can also watch us on YouTube. That is Sports 101. And please, those in the diaspora, the super stickers today, we are on fire. So we are expecting you to be very benevolent and just shower us with some super stickers. So I'm just reading a few that we've had. Arteta says, good evening, guys, watching the show live in Botase, Lower Axim. Botase, it's our Botase here.
Where's Botase?
Botase in Axim. The Botase we have here, we know what they do there. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Our own Botase, we know what happened here. Yeah.
That's cool.
And he also comes to say that finally the elephant, that is in bracket, Arsenal has fallen. Also Mother's Day present. Duly said.
Arsenal, we get enemies.
Lawrence Dogwe says, Ja Morant isn't serious. The people he surrounded himself with is the problem. The Glazers should suspend him for the entirety of next season. Ja Morant actually comes from a good family. Yes, Kofi was talking about it. And he says that both parents are alive, so we don't know if the parents are probably listening. They will have to take responsibility of him.
Sad.
We are expecting that black parents are very, very strict. We don't know why this is a different situation. PK Justice says, Arsenal have failed Mother's Day. I have failed the mothers today. I don't know. I thought the Women's Fellowship was actually Chelsea. I didn't know it was Arsenal. Ibn Zatete said, may you never labor in vain like Arsenal.
Oh. Arsenal.
Saliva.
I think that if Arsenal don't leave any legacy this season,
they will leave us with that.
It's the chance when you are playing at the Emirates. Arsenal.
Saliva.
Arsenal. I'm in love with those chances.
Yeah, and PK Jackson said, Lucky, you need to be properly shaped. Don't worry. We are all experts. Yes, we're going to KNUS, the two of us. We are good at shaving, so we'll do that. PK Justice comes again, and he says that Arsenal have lost their primaries. Even Arteta doesn't trust himself, but he's won the manager of the month 4 times. 4 times, so he can actually cushion himself with the fact that even in the season they didn't win anything. He's won manager of the month 4 times.
But he's pushed them.
That's record. So that is a trophy. Okay, no problem. Now, PK Justice comes and says, Arsenal, okay, PK, he says, Lucky, I'll be waiting for the after show at the gate to shave properly before you go home. So any hair that is left, PK will do justice to it.
People are really
He again comes to say that, so after all the muff, Arsenal just got B+ in EPL.
Oh, but if Arsenal if I'm rating Arsenal season, I give Arsenal a B+. I think that's
Listen. In sports, it is A and the rest are all F. Nobody remembers.
Okay.
Who was second in the 2001 Premier League?
Okay.
You don't even remember.
So,
you won't put it in your head because it's F.
Who would have had the most successful season, Arsenal or Manchester United?
If let's say if the trajectory stands,
Yeah.
United do not win.
United also qualify for top
United
4
do
and
not
Carabao.
win any other trophy aside the Carabao. I think that I will look at Arsenal in an entirety, and I think Arsenal would have had a more successful season. One, they finished ahead of United, having spent less than United this season.
Isaac Amwa comes to say that Lukaku is a prolific striker, very underrated. It's true. He scored the same number of goals as Harry Kane, but we are putting Harry Kane in the palanquin.
Exactly.
But
And you want to even bring in Ciro
Kofi is saying that
contest of Lukaku.
Kofi is saying it's like a Volkswagen beater.
For me, Lukaku
is like a Volkswagen beater with a V8 engine. He's fast on the road, but he's not.
It's his personality that's not appealing to people. That's Lukaku's problem.
He said he wears size 50.
Lukaku's personality.
His boot is size 50. PK just said that. Kofi, please ask Lucky that is Father Bernard a superstar? Please, that Perisic neighbor. He said he's asking you whether Father Bernard is a superstar. Do you know Father Bernard?
Oh, Father Bernard he's a world-renowned star. He's everywhere, Father Bernard.
So he's saying that he's trying to say is Van Dijk a superstar?
Van Dijk is not a superstar. I have my own, definition for superstars. He's a good defender.
And Abigail is affirming that question that PK, yes, so it means that we should ask, is Father Bernard really a superstar? That's the question on the list, because you brought the superstar in, and for me, I don't think superstar is something that is subjective. It is subjective. If you are a superstar, we know you are a superstar.
Exactly.
So it's not like somebody thinks you are and others think you are not.
That's true.
Immobile is a very great player, no doubt.
Not.
He's won the Capo Caninieri twice. He's one of the few players to have won it with 2 different teams. He won it with Torino. He's won it with Lazio. So as good as he is, Lukaku is not a superstar. He's a star. Immobile is not a superstar. He's also a star. He's just like Jardel. Jardel also won the Golden Boot, but he's never a superstar.
I know Jardel at FC Porto was scoring 60 league goals a season.
Yes, he'll be banned by Ronaldo, who actually is injured the whole season. Now, I think the next thing we are going to is a very interesting thing. It has to do with our Champions League.
Yeah.
That we actually had throughout the course of the week. Now, last week, there were 2 interesting games. We had the Madrid, match. The match at Santiago Bernabeu, Estadio Santiago Bernabeu. There was the match between Real Madrid and Manchester City. The game ended 1-1 with 2 magnificent goals, one from Vinicius Junior, the other one from Kevin De Bruyne. And the second match, that's the Milan derby, it went the way of the Inter Milan, the International Milan. They actually won by 2-0. I will start with that of Santiago Bernabeu. And with what ensued between those 2 teams and the match that we witnessed, is it going to be an easy win for City, or Madrid will go and do, I won't call it unthinkable because the Champions League is Madrid, Madrid is Champions League, or Madrid will again dent the hopes of City winning the Champions League by eliminating them? I'll start with you, Lucky.
I think that let me take it from what happened last week, Tuesday. I think that we saw 2 teams operate at a very high level. I was watching the game and I'm looking around Europe and I look at the other teams, Liverpool, Barcelona, Manchester United. Charlie, these guys have a lot of work to do. Especially, I was looking at the Barca team, and I heard some of the players they are trying to recruit, and I'm looking at what are they? Are they seeing the level of football these guys are playing? Listen, what we saw on Tuesday was football at its highest level. Both managers displaying some solid tactical acumen. I think that it was a very, very cagey game. There was not a point or the entirety of the game where we could say that one team dominated throughout. In the first half, the moment when City started dominating the game, Real Madrid scored against the run of play, because Real Madrid scored at the point when City were on the ascendancy. In the second half, likewise, when Madrid were on the ascendancy and they had pinned City, City's back against the wall, Kevin De Bruyne comes up and scores a very brilliant goal. Very, very good game. But I think that what I saw City do was I saw a City team that had grown in terms of their mentality. They looked at the strength of this team and they realized that if we open up too much, if you go at this Real Madrid team, they would really hurt us. Because one thing I saw last season, I questioned why Pep Guardiola did not do, which I felt that he had the capacity to do, was that at the 87th minute, you were still leading Real Madrid. Why don't you control the game? Why don't you try and you shouldn't go on the attack so much, control the game. But City did what City did and they capitulated in the end. But in this game, I saw Manchester City a bit reserved. If you look at the numbers, most of the game, the heat wave indicated that 80% of the game was played in the middle of the park. Clearly, City wanted to control how Real Madrid will attack them, ensure that Madrid do not use the pace of Vinicius, Valverde on the wings to create a lot of problems for Kyle Walker and Akanji, who would play the two full-back role, because Bernardo Silva did not have a good day at all. So for me, it was a City team that decided to try and control the heat that Real Madrid will bring at them, and I think that it was more of Real Madrid losing 3 points and City gaining 1 point, because I think Madrid would be, no Madrid fan will be happy they drawing 1-1 at the Santiago Bernabeu, because now they will have to go to the Etihad and ensure that they win that game. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. After all, this is Real Madrid, very, very experienced in the Champions League. It is not just the name Real Madrid. The set of players that are playing now are literally the same set of players that we saw win the Champions League last season. At the Etihad, it's going to be a different ball game. People talk about the fact that Rudiger checked, Haaland, and I think that that's a bit too far-fetched. It was more of the fact that City did not do a lot of ball distribution to Haaland, because if you look at the numbers, Haaland had 6 duels. He won 5 of those duels and lost just 1. It means that the very few times those duels came to him, he won. But City did not really give Haaland a lot of balls. On the average, Haaland averages 21 touches in a game. But in that game, he averaged 18. So you are the statistician. That is not below average. Because if on the average, I have 21 touches, and in this game, I have 18, you will not say that, I performed below average. So it was more of the structure of City that did not allow us to see the effectiveness of Haaland and other players. But the Etihad, we should expect that City will try and go at Madrid, because a draw would mean that this game would go to penalties or this game would go to extra time because of the changes in the UEFA rule. Both teams would have to win. So we are going to see an exciting game.
So what's your prediction?
I mean, like I said, when we started this, over 2 legs, City will qualify.
Kofi.
Well, I think Real Madrid will kill the game in the first half at the Etihad. This Madrid team is not scared of City or all of the shenanigans they have engaged in the local domestic league. You understand? We saw masterful defending from David Alaba, who played together with my good friend. What's the name of that German boy? Rudiger. At the center of defense. Listen, Real Madrid is not one of those teams that goes to a venue and gets faced. No, it's not. This is not Real Madrid. You understand? Because this season already they've been to a more dreaded Anfield. Went down 2-0. Eventually had to beat Liverpool by 5-2. You understand? They've gone to Stamford Bridge, done the unthinkable. So they have been to more established Champions League venues in England. City are still in Totroa. I don't know how to say that in English. You understand? They are minnows when it comes to the Champions League. So make no mistake that Madrid coming to the Etihad, they will be faced. I think that with the change in rule, and that's knowing that the away goals do not matter, it's going to be more interesting. It will boil down to who has the temperament. It will boil down to who has the capacity to deliver on the biggest of stages. In that first leg, I was nearly coming to type that Kevin De Bruyne never shows up on the biggest of stages. Then boom, he scored that goal.
As he silences.
No, I don't think he's done that. I don't think he's done that. Because I look at Kevin De Bruyne, I look at Rodrigo, I look at Vinicius Jr., I look at Karim Benzema. I would rather align with Rodrigo even than Kevin De Bruyne on the biggest of stages. I would align with Vinicius Jr. because those are guys who can ride the tide on the biggest of stages. You understand? For all of the things that Erling Haaland has done in the APL, I do not think that he's somebody who drives a lot of fear into defenders when it comes to the Champions League.
He does, because to probably, either add up to what you say, make the conversation interesting. If you look at Haaland's numbers in the Champions League,
he won the Golden Boot of Champions last 2 seasons.
Not just even that. If you look at his numbers and his age, not even Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo comes close in terms of his numbers in the last.
No, you see, that's why you get.
So when it comes to the Champions League, Haaland is actually his XG is higher than any of the European goal scorers. His XG. So he's more prolific than any other striker in the history of the Champions League. The details, exactly.
Those are elements of details. I am talking about players who show up on the biggest of stages when the threshold is highest.
Yeah.
You understand? I would rather trust Karim Benzema. I would rather trust Vinicius Jr. I would rather trust Rodrigo, because those guys have the temerity to show up on the biggest of stages. That's why I'm saying that. Listen, that game at the Etihad is going to be bloody. A lot of people have written Madrid off, and you do not know how good Madrid is until you meet them.
Nobody has written Madrid off.
No, I mean, no. Prior to this game, I listened to a lot of commentary which sought to suggest that City were going to walk over Real Madrid. And listen, in this game, there was a 37, 38-year-old Luka Modric still bossing the midfield. And you see, I think that I wouldn't want to sway the conversation too much. I think that, you see, back to that whole element and myth about Pep Guardiola and the things that he does with players. I look at this Madrid team. Look at what Ancelotti has been able to do with Camavinga, playing at left fullback. Listen, if this was Pep Guardiola, 1,001 articles would have been written.
Yeah.
But 1,001 articles would have been written. And that he had the trust to play Camavinga against this City team. Over Mendy.
Who is a conventional.
Over this Nacho. You understand? So I think that it fits into the myth of that whole thing. I think that the game at the Etihad is going to be bloody. And for me, I've said that, listen, over 2 legs, Madrid will play the final.
Let me just give
Have you forgotten that Kofi sat in these studios and predicted a mauling for Manchester City at the Bernabeu?
I don't remember.
I don't even remember. But you see, one thing I take pride in is my consistency. I told you when we were talking about the Bayern game. I told you that, okay, you can go on and wax lyrical about this Bayern team. But over 2 legs, City will skill passing. And I'm saying it here again. Come Wednesday, City will score no less than 2 goals at the Etihad. And over 2 legs, City will qualify. Percy is the one that is more, I'm a spiritual person, but Percy is the one that wouldn't mind, using the spirituality aspect. Yes, exactly. I'm seeing something happen, and it's probably reminiscent of what we saw in that Liverpool AC Milan game. Was it in 2007? In Istanbul. This Champions League will be played in Istanbul. That final was between one English side and one Italian side. This final, I'm seeing that happen. One English side, one Italian side. It's not just that. If you look at what's happening, the World Cup, we saw a lot of things happen that literally aligned for the first times. So there was a lot of first times this year. But you see, for me, putting all those things aside, I still think that one City have the advantage for you to go away at the Bernabeu, draw 1-1. My fear was the fact that City will capitulate mentally, because the Bernabeu and its aura alone can suck you in. But I think that they held their own very well. If you listen to the players and the manager, clearly that is one thing that they've learned from last season. Coming back home, I think that they'll have the momentum
Let me ask you a
with them.
simple
But
question.
I still hold my ground.
Let me ask
City
you a
will go
simple
through
question.
over 2
Let me
legs.
ask you a
And they are
simple
playing
question.
Inter Milan.
Yes, let me ask you a simple question. I mean, whether they get to play Inter Milan or
City are playing Inter
that's
Milan in
fine.
the
That's
final
fine.
June.
What happens to Pep Guardiola's legacy should he drop out of this Champions League?
What happens to Pep Guardiola? Should he?
Would he have been a failure? Because
As
I've
in-
always
in terms of his career?
because I've always said that everything that Pep Guardiola, yes, you can garnish it with the numbers and the figures, you understand. But everything that he's done at City, all of his predecessors have done it. You understand? What happens if Pep Guardiola fails to get to another Champions League finals?
Before he leaves, as in after he's left City, if he's not able to win,
Yes.
I think that he will still be the most sought after manager. I always tell people that look at the value a manager has. You will only know that when the manager is
Would
fired.
you choose him ahead of Ancelotti?
Easy.
Why?
Easy.
Why?
Easy.
Why?
Listen, people always say yes. If you
Because
look at
of the myths.
if you look at the trajectory of Pep Guardiola, one thing that has defined him is he picking that Barca team, winning the Champions League in 2008, winning the Champions League
2009
in
and
2009, 2011. The expectancy for him to do that with every single club is there because of the bar he set for himself. So if he's not able to win the Champions League with City and he leaves Manchester City, obviously that would forever be a hanging thread over him. It will forever be one of the negatives in his career at Manchester City, but it will never take away from his greatness and how good he is a manager. And if he leaves Manchester City now, almost all the big clubs or the top clubs in the world will come looking for his signature. It tells you the pantheon with which they place him, because I do not think that they look at him, he not being able to annex the Champions League, as the reason why Pep Guardiola will not be employed. Yes, it will be a huge, dent in his career if he's not. That I won't sit here and disagree. It will be a huge dent in his career because you've managed Manchester City for 7 years. At least at Bayern, we can cut in the slack that it was just 3 seasons. But for you to handle a team for 7 years with the resources that have been made available to you, with the way you've built this team to your satisfaction, I think that the least he can leave this Manchester City team with is a Champions League trophy.
Let me just give you my take on this. Both of you have been able to say whatever you have to say. First of all,
You tell us who is going through.
I'll tell you. You know what I would say. Listen.
Okay, we all know.
Listen. First of all, with the Haaland bit, when we say a player is influential, it is not about goals you score in the group stages. No, we are talking about when it matters. How many goals does he have in quarterfinals?
So-
I'm coming. Quarters, round 16, semi-final.
So let me help out here. I think that we are being a bit harsh on Haaland because we need to look at the teams Haaland has played for.
Don't worry.
And all the teams he's played for. Take away Dortmund. His exploit in the Champions League is literally with Dortmund. Haaland, I want us to judge Haaland in 2-3 years with Manchester City because that is the team that is likely to give him at least
No problem.
that semi-final platform, because for a player to play for, it's a symbiotic relationship. The team would have to help the player to be productive. The player also have to help the team to be
No
productive.
problem.
So you can be as good as any player, but if you play for a team like what is it called, Arsenal, the tendency that Arsenal win the Champions League, no matter how good you are, is close to zero. But that's the truth. So you can be as great as a player as you are. Thierry Henry, he did not annex the Champions League trophy with Arsenal. So no matter how great Henry is, so you can say, okay, can we then say, is Vinicius a better player than Thierry Henry, or is Vinicius a better influencer than Thierry
no
Henry
one has
based
said
on that? So I think that let's put it in the right
probably
context.
got me wrong. What I'm trying to say is that then we should stop with this comparison, and now his numbers are close to Messi and Ronaldo, because with what you are saying, he just played for just a few. That's just by the way. Listen, whether Real Madrid is playing the first leg at Bernabeu, second leg at Bernabeu, first leg at Etihad, every place they play in the Champions League semi-final, quarter-final, final is their home. I told you yesterday, you were not around. I said it. They have qualified for this competition 42 times. They've gone to the final 16 times and won 14. And they don't lose to to somebody who has not won the Champions League semi-final.
Oh.
They don't do that.
Oh.
See, I would probably want to bring these things so that you would understand.
You wax lyrical about buying me.
Now, the last time Real Madrid had a situation like this was in 2013-2014 against the same Pep Guardiola's Bayern. They had won the league with 6 or 7 matches to spare. By then there was Mandzukic, there was the prime Robin, Ribéry, whatever, Javi Martinez, Neuer. First leg was a 0-0. Second leg, this bandit will be a mauling because if you check this, by 78th minute the match was over, 4-0.
Ash.
And Ancelotti is that manager that Guardiola would always dream to be.
Ash.
See, when it comes to situations like this, Ancelotti would never capitulate in Champions League, never. With a team he knows is good, it doesn't happen.
So what happened in 2000?
I'm coming. I'm just giving you instances. Ancelotti took this AC Milan team. Of course, they won in 2002-2003. Getting into the final in 2002-2003, Juventus were a far better because they had even won the league. He was able to hold on to that what you call 0-0 and actually win on penalties. 2004, when they were taken away by Deportivo La Coruña, the next season, that was when they went to the finals with Liverpool. So it means that 2 seasons after they went to the Champions League semi-final, that was when they met Liverpool and they had that situation.
They were drunk. Yeah, they were drunk.
I mean,
they were drunk at halftime. I mean,
2006. See, I am telling you
believe in it.
See, the situation is found himself. 2006, that was when they went to meet Ronaldinho's Barcelona.
Yeah.
That was when he actually disgraced Gattuso and Nesta and Maldini. See, a lot of coaches finding themselves in this situation after being successful in Champions League 3 years back. It will be very difficult for you to replicate having fallen to this hurdle consistently for 3 years. Then in 2007, they went to meet the same team that actually beat them. And this time, 2 goals from Inzaghi, and they were there. 2008, that was when he left, and he came to Chelsea. Chelsea, the first season, quarters. Second season, quarters. Then he left. When he went to PSG's first quarterfinal was given to them by Ancelotti. When he came to Madrid consistently had been in the semi-final. See, he's that type of coach that he's seen it all. And he's been able to experience all of these situations. When I was watching, I was telling Kofi that I was listening to the commentary. And they were like, the way City is playing, this by the end of this match, probably Madrid will be down by 3-0. But if you were watching and you see his demeanor, he is so relaxed. He is so relaxed that in this game, you wouldn't be surprised because it got to a time, the match was 79-21. That is in favor of City with respect to the, possession. And this next game that they are going to play, you'll be surprised that he will leave the ball for them. Because with what they found themselves in last season, 87 minutes, and you need 2 goals. And out of nowhere. So, for everything, tactics, I mean, when it gets to Champions League semi-final, I don't talk tactics. I don't do tactics anymore. I do who is on the bench. Which team is playing. That is why I sat here and I will continue to say, Manchester City can never eliminate Real Madrid. It won't happen.
You said the same thing. Manchester City can.
No. The one I was very emphatic was Napoli and AC Milan, and I said that there was no way that it doesn't matter the position of AC Milan, they won't be able to eliminate Manchester. The position of Napoli, they can't eliminate AC Milan because AC Milan is like a cathedral. And you watch the game, the way they won the game, it's funny. With this same situation, I'm not coming to talk tactics. I won't say Guardiola will play 3-2-1-4, whatever. Me, I don't do that. When it gets to the semi-final,
you think Real Madrid?
It's not about I think. I'm not
Real
doing.
Madrid is going to.
It's not about me thinking that Real Madrid will go through or they will.
So, our two guys here, unanimous. Real Madrid is going through. I believe that over 2 legs, City is going through. Let's see what happens on Wednesday. Kofi, who would you want to have in your team, Vinicius or Haaland? If you are building a team and you have these 2 guys in the pomp of their career, in their prime, and you have the finance or the resources to acquire one of them, who do you want to have in your team? Erling Haaland or Vinicius Jr.?
Well, let me start by saying that Erling Haaland is very one-dimensional. He has nothing. He's not a player who excites me. I wouldn't pay money to go watch Erling Haaland.
Okay.
No way. I wouldn't pay money to go to the stadium to watch a tall boy. It's just like Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, run to the rim, dunk. I mean, that's what Erling Haaland does. I mean, no, I wouldn't pay money to go watch Erling Haaland because for me, he's too one-dimensional.
Okay.
At this moment in time, I think it will be an absolute disrespect to want to even compare Vinicius Jr. to Erling Haaland. Total disrespect.
Why do you say that?
Because Vinicius Jr. is a guy who has grown up before our very eyes, has played for the best club in the world. And listen, for people who are watching us, ask Eden Hazard. He will tell you how difficult it is to play for Real Madrid. To play for Real Madrid and to keep excelling and being at the top of your game. Not everybody can do that. Not anyone can play for City. But to play for Real Madrid, the biggest and best team in the world, and to be consistent for that level of time. I think that Vinicius is a guy who came from Brazil, grew up before our very eyes, made mistakes. Now he's on top of the world. He's on top of his game. I struggle to find 3 best players now who are better than Vinicius Jr. The guy simply has everything. He can score big goals on the biggest of stages. The guy has skill. The guy can make you value your money and make your money worth the performance that he puts in, week out. For me, I think this is a no-brainer. There is no way, under any circumstances, under whichever parameter, that I will choose Erling Haaland ahead of Vinicius Jr. A misnomer.
Kofi, he says for anything football, based on what he expects a player to do, based on what he's seen within the trajectory of these 2 players, there's no way he's going out for Erling Haaland. He will choose Vinicius Jr. with his eyes closed. On any given day, with these 2 guys in their prime, who would you go for?
The funny thing is that I would go for Erling Haaland. I don't know why.
Why?
Listen, we're here and we're talking about Lukaku.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have that flamboyance.
He's not a skillful.
Yes.
The idea of a skillful player. Could we speak about his first start?
Listen.
Haaland does not have a first start.
One of the things that makes us always make noise about Cristiano Ronaldo is his ability to adapt in every place he goes to.
Yeah.
He's been relevant in about 4 different. Even Saudi Arabia, he's relevant.
Yeah.
Erling
Playing
Haaland.
against
Allah wallahi.
Who probably would have been on the desert.
I mean, these are boys on holiday.
Exactly.
You understand? Al-Butubu.
That's it, by the way. But then, listen. One of the reasons why we've seen him, we've been talking about him, and even with the fact that for he not winning all the things, we still are able to bring him in this good debate is his ability to be relevant at different places. Erling Haaland started from Molde, leaving Molde and coming to Borussia. We were talking about adaptability. Here we are talking about a Ciro Immobile, a couple Canadian winner, moving into the same BVB, Dortmund. He gets there and he is virtually useless. Erling Haaland moves into the same situation, and there he was fighting with Robert Lewandowski. He was fighting with him over the the top scorer, and he did it consistently for 2 years. He moves into City. One season, we've not ended the season. For whatever we made noise about Cristiano Ronaldo and the record he made, that Suarez was able to equal, and Salah was able. You see, this is the only thing that Salah could tout himself with. And the season has already ended. And the guy is giving you the listen. He said not everybody can play for City. You mentioned Alvaro Negredo. Alvaro Negredo, was he able to play? No, you were mentioning players. This is a player who was very relevant. Listen, for everything that Vinicius has, when we talk of Haaland, Dortmund was not a mainstay in Champions League, save they win in 1997. So it's not, and they have not really been relevant. Apart from the final they went to in 2012, they are either a quarter-final a round 16, a quarter final. But Vinicius is playing for a Real Madrid that had done a repeat.
The possibility is
The possibility of you being relevant is very high. And
the possibility of you Real Madrid getting to the semi-final
and for Haaland
is high.
And for Haaland, wherever he's, for even the confines that he's found himself, he's been
I don't know
relevant. If you are talking about relevance too, it is not just with the club, it's also with the national team.
That's true.
Listen, the last Euros that was played, the top scorer for the qualification of the Euros was listen, Erling Haaland. It is not a matter of flamboyancy. Then nobody would like Filippo Inzaghi.
I don't need my striker to be flamboyant. I agree with you. I don't need my striker to be flamboyant. If I have a 10 like Ronaldinho, if I have a Kevin De Bruyne, if I have a Gundogan, I don't need.
It's the same for
to score goals.
Filippo Inzaghi. You have a Kaka in your team. You have a Seedorf in your team.
I don't get the point.
Okay, Percy, hold on.
First of all,
He doesn't get my point.
I don't get the point you're making. Honestly, I don't.
We pause there. Guys, who would you have in your team? Maybe we can have a poll. Quick one. Who would you have in your team? In their prime, Erling Haaland, Vinicius Jr. Who would you pick if you have the funds? Let's get to hear from you in the comment section. Govi.
Well, first of all, we all have to acknowledge that playing for Real Madrid comes with an extra pressure.
Are we not overstating that?
Hold on.
I'm so surprised.
I am saying, Erling Haaland.
plays for Real Madrid.
Erling Haaland cannot be the player Eden Hazard was. No.
I don't understand.
Look at Eden Hazard and his flamboyance in the EPL. EPL Player of the Season twice.
Once.
No,
Once.
twice.
2015. Once.
Okay, once. There's no guarantee. I mean, Erling
Haaland will win this
score
season.
the goals.
Erling Haaland will win this season, actually.
But we are talking about the best player in the EPL.
And this season, you think he will?
He's already won the football writers. He's already won the
That's
football.
likely to hit
listen,
40 league goals.
And he's already won the football
I
writers.
think that, like I said,
Yeah.
playing for Real Madrid comes with an extra pressure.
Okay.
You would have to go over that psychological barrier first. And I am saying that Eden Hazard is the first to bear testament to that. Number two.
I don't want to ask him.
Number two.
Let him finish.
In this conversation, I don't want to.
No, you see, number two.
I enjoy the stance you guys have.
Number two. You talk about the fact that Erling Haaland walks into the league, breaks the league, blah blah blah, goes a lot of goals, blah blah blah. Listen, if this was basketball, we are talking about a super team. A team that has been built with millions of pounds. A team that is worth over £1 billion. A team that virtually, probably, anywhere else in the world will not have any other support. I dare say that, listen, if Harry Kane was playing in this City team, if Karim Benzema was playing in this City team, they would do the things that Erling Haaland has done and more.
Kofi, can we not?
No, you see,
can we not dabble in the hypothesis and the
this is not about hypothesis. This is not hypothetics. This is not hypothetics. You understand? I am saying that in this City team, where you have a lot of facilitators, where there has not been any team in the history of the EPL, where you have this team built with a lot of facilitators, then you have this team built with a lot of playmakers who when you are the arrowhead, will supply with all of the balls they supply. And I am saying that if we were exchanging roles and Harry Kane had moved to City, he would probably score a lot more than the goals that Erling Haaland scored, because we watch Erling Haaland in the league.
It's not happening, so we can't be conclusive.
No, we watch Erling Haaland in the league. We see the goals he scores. We see the chances he misses. And we see Harry Kane. I have seen Karim Benzema play. I am saying that if you're exchanging the roles and Karim Benzema was playing in this City team, Karim Benzema will easily hit 40 plus goals in the league. Harry Kane will easily hit 40 plus goals. But not anybody can play for Real Madrid. And for me, you see, Real Madrid does not like to dabble in the La Liga and all of the shenanigans about the La Liga. No! That is not their domain. Real Madrid likes to dabble on the elite competitions. And for me, it will be an insult to mention Vinicius Jr.'s name to Erling Haaland when it comes to pedigree in the Champions League.
Percy.
I'm very surprised.
Come on!
Okay. It's okay, no problem. Now, he's talking about the fact that the first thing, if you exchange rules, listen, I'm giving you the profile of strikers who came into the Premier League and were not able to do half. I will start with Edin Dzeko.
And played with City.
I'm coming. With City.
The City team.
I'm coming. No. Listen. If you talk of facilitators, the City team of the City team of 20.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
The City team. I'm coming.
That has been built
And
in the mold of this
I will
let
give you
him
a
land.
generation of City team that had more facilitators than this.
I want to go back to it.
No, but you were saying that. See, the time that what do you call it, Edin Dzeko came. He came into a team that had David Silva, that had Yaya Toure.
Oh, come on.
These are two facilitators in a team.
Oh, come on.
It got to a time
Come on.
that apart from Yaya Toure and what do you call it, Edin Dzeko, there was Samir Nasri.
And they were joined by Ike Gundogan.
I mean, that is later. You are talking about players who came. Now there was Sergio Aguero, who when he was coming from Atletico Madrid, it is not the profile that what do you call it? You had Erling Haaland coming with. He has never hit 30 goals, not 29, not 28. With all the time that he's been in, you talk about Avram and you laugh, but he came in with a profile that's Erling Haaland.
At the time was moving.
That's Erling Haaland.
Real Madrid were on the cusp of securing him.
He moved with that profile.
Even when the profile, Avram Negredo came with, it was literally the same profile. This guy, what's his name? Robinho. At the time was moving from Real Madrid, and that issue of he was supposed to sign for Chelsea, he was supposed to sign for United. Yes, and he signed for City. That was the level of profile the guy was coming with.
With that profile that he came with, you should never sit somewhere and say that if you bring this. Listen, do you know the number of facilitators that Harry Kane has had in his team?
Who?
When there was Prime Ericsson in the team. When there was Prime, you might say that Dele Ali, but that time, Dele Ali, Eric Lamela, these were players that were facilitated.
Luka Modric.
Listen. With all of these players, and if you are talking about this and you say that Harry Kane, when he is brought into this city, listen. If you watch the movement of Erling Haaland, it is not because of the fact that the team has already been set.
That's one thing.
He himself has listen.
The guy's
listen.
Better striker than Harry Kane. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Listen.
No way.
Can I please stay?
Can I score 40 plus goals with the City team?
Can I stay on my trajectory?
Let him finish.
He's not a better player than.
Can I stay on my trajectory? I want to stay on my trajectory. I don't want to be dismayed. I would never choose Harry Kane over Lukaku. I'm starting. I will never choose Harry Kane over Lukaku. Lukaku is on the same level or even better. Because Lukaku has been able to win something. He has been able to steer Inter Milan to their first league title in 10 years. Harry Kane had been in what you call Tottenham Hotspur. Their last title they won was a Carabao Cup in 2008. If he was that good, if he was that prolific, listen, when he went to Inter Milan, when Lukaku went to Inter Milan, the league had been won by one team. Listen, Lukaku was supposed to be the best player of that season, although it was given to Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, we all know the reason.
Listen, so with Lukaku, even with Lukaku, I wouldn't choose him over him. If you are talking about top striker in the world, you can't bring Harry Kane. It's not about the exploit he's made. Here you are talking about the fact that we are not talking about what has happened. The best striker in the world at the moment is not Harry Kane. You have a player who has scored over 40 goals, and you are saying that then for every season, Messi will be the best player of every season. Ask me the question.
The best striker in the world is who?
The best striker in the world at the moment.
Is he? Yeah, who?
Yes, and I will give you to what you call it, Erling Haaland.
Is he a better striker than Karim Benzema?
I will give it to him at the moment. Yes, I will. You said at the moment.
Don't play with words.
I'm not playing with
We
words.
speak about movement.
Yes.
What is so exceptional about Erling Haaland? It's not really like we don't watch.
Is it rhetoric? Is it rhetoric?
Let's do this.
Is it rhetoric?
Hold on.
Kofi, hold on.
You make your point.
Hold on. You speak about movement. You speak about whatever it is. I mean, listen.
I think that he brought that in.
Hold on. First of all, I think that we need to fact check some of the things that.
Okay,
listen,
we can.
You can talk about facilitators, but there's no way you can compare David Silva and Yaya Toure to even the two of them cannot even compare to Kevin.
Kofi, please let me banter this. I beg you, let me banter. There is no way. There is no way on this earth in football that you can tell me. Mention a facilitator in the Premier League in the last 10 years who is better than David Silva. You mentioned.
How many ways?
You mentioned. It's not about you were mentioned. So give me a name.
It's one of those myths we are fed into.
Okay, I've heard you
Just
guys.
like Andre Iniesta.
I've heard you guys
talk.
talk.
Let me make my point.
No, I'm actually helping you make.
No,
your
don't
point.
help me make my point. I
No,
want
in
to
terms
make
of
my
what
point.
Percy said. In terms of what Percy said, you asked the question that how many are his assists.
What's his numbers?
An assist only becomes an assist if the striker is able to effectively do his job.
Very good.
So it is not so much of the provider not being
Let me ask
able
you
chances
a simple
created.
question.
Exactly.
Let me ask you a simple question.
It's not the
We
assist,
talk
but
about-
the chances
we
created.
talk about
It becomes
David
an assist
Silva.
when you score.
I am telling you on facts here that David Silva's reputation in the EPL cannot even come anywhere close to Eden Hazard as a facilitator.
No.
Cannot.
For this, I would debunk it.
Cannot.
So you think
Cannot.
who is the best striker
For me,
currently in
for me,
Europe?
For me.
Who is the best striker
For
currently
me,
in Europe?
For me, you see, you talk about Yaya Toure, you talk about David
They had
Silva.
Yaya Toure,
You
they
talk
had-
about-
I am not the one talking
I am
about.
saying
Let's calm
that
down.
the two of them combined cannot even come close to one Kevin De Bruyne.
Okay.
Then we are not talking about only Kevin De Bruyne. We are talking about Mahrez. We are talking about Bernardo Silva. We are talking about Gundogan. We are talking about what was the name of that English boy?
Oh, please.
Jack
No.
Grealish. We
Don't
are talking
mention Jack
about.
Grealish.
We are
How
talking
many-
about people. Listen, look at City carefully. Look at the chances that Haaland gets. Look at the last game that they played. Had 6 great edge chances. You cannot tell me that Karim Benzema or Harry Kane will not put away those chances.
Pause. Percy, pause. I'm coming. Pause. There was a season where Karim Benzema was slated for more than 2 years for his profligacy at Real Madrid.
Which season?
Oh, come on.
Which
Why
season?
are we sitting here pretending that the current Karim Benzema, you know that when Karim Benzema came to Real Madrid,
It was 11, 12,
and
12, 13.
12, 13. In those seasons, Karim Benzema was one of.
Mourinho's final
Thank you,
season.
Mourinho's final season. Karim Benzema was slated by the fans for not being able to effectively put chances in there. And we even attribute that to the presence of Cristiano. We say that now that Cristiano Ronaldo has left, Karim Benzema is having the freedom to score. So let's not pretend as if Karim Benzema has always been proficient and effective.
No, you see,
That
you
is
need
the
to
truth.
be-
So
you need
that's,
to be
that's
true.
where Percy
You need
is.
to be true to
That's
the
where Percy is
narrative.
coming
You
from.
need to be true to the narrative. When Karim Benzema played with Gonzalo Higuain and Cristiano Ronaldo at Real Madrid, they were playing on the wings.
But even currently, Karim
Ronaldo
Benzema
was
is
Can
in
I
the
come in?
most with-
Can I
Through
come
the
in?
middle.
Can I come in?
Yeah, come in.
What this statement of fact, I would have to debunk.
Yeah.
This was Real Madrid forward.
Yeah.
Ronaldo never played through the middle.
the truth.
Ronaldo
Who
played
played
on the
through the
left
middle?
wing. I'm coming.
Ronaldo never
Listen.
played as a
No,
number
no,
nine.
no.
I'm coming.
Ronaldo never played as a
Ronaldo played the left. Di Maria played the right. Then it was between Gonzalo and
Karim Benzema.
And the one as number 10 was Ozil. But that is just for a fact.
But who is the current best striker in
I've
the
already
world?
told you mine.
I mean,
No, I'm talking about Kofi.
Listen. If you're talking
Currently,
about
who is the best striker in the world?
Well, who is the best player in the world?
Currently, honestly, I do not know.
Who is
I
the
can
best
give you.
player in the-
I can give you.
Who is the reigning best player in the world?
That was for last season.
For last season.
For last season, it was Benzema.
Karim Benzema won.
Nobody comes close to him. We are not talking about the best striker in the world. We are talking
No,
about.
that was
not
for
just
last
the-
season.
I'm talking about this
hold on.
seriously.
What do you think that Mbappe has done to would probably accept what Karim Benzema has done?
We had last season.
We are talking about Karim Benzema at 35. Still relevant. You guys talk about movement. Maybe you haven't watched Karim Benzema. Go back and watch Karim Benzema. You will know the art of striking. If you watch Karim Benzema and his movement, Mbappe, what Erling Haaland does. That's no, you see, when we talk about the art of striking, go back and watch Karim Benzema.
I'll let you because this I decided
For me,
this I don't want to
For me,
enjoy, I don't want to
the
be part of the
best
conversation.
striker in the world, the best 2 strikers in the
the
world,
world.
Karim Benzema, Harry Kane. I would choose them any day ahead of
Erling Haaland.
I would even
Who
choose
is
Kylian
currently
Mbappe ahead of
who is
Erling Haaland.
currently the best striker in the world in your opinion? He has gone for Karim Benzema, probably followed by Harry Kane. I wish I were part of this conversation. No. I don't want to be part of this conversation.
Listen.
It's between Percy and Kofi.
If
Who is
you are,
currently
if
the
you
best
are
striker in the
choosing,
world?
or if you are talking about the role a striker,
Yeah.
the bottom line has to be with the goals.
Hasselbank.
Listen, I don't want to talk. I'm surprised
He's
he's
a
talking.
white
I'm surprised he's talking about the fact that and
Hasselbank.
movement and listen, movement. I'm not talking about a striker that comes to receive the ball and distribute. I am talking about a striker that makes himself available. Listen, when I say movement, I'm not talking about you come, you take the ball, you pass, you go in.
Yeah.
If you check the movement of Erling Haaland, but I'm not even talking about that today. I don't know why it's all of a sudden we've now changed the narrative to that of Karim Benzema.
Because the conversation was Vinicius Junior and Erling Haaland.
Listen,
who would you want to have?
First of all, this argument would have a lot of tweets because one, they don't play the same position. One plays the left.
It was a generic question.
Yes.
Who would you want to
But
have
if it
in
has-
your team
but if
and
it-
why?
but-
And that's very subjective.
Very subjective. And if
Yeah.
it has to do with impact, I am surprised when he was talking about the facilitators and he mentioned, listen, in the 2011-2012 City team, he's mentioned, but listen, these profiles, the profile of Sami Nasri then is nowhere near what you can mention Bernardo Silva to be.
Come on.
He was arguably the best player in Arsenal,
Come on.
and he was converted away. You can talk of
Wrap up in the
you
next
can talk of
60
Yaya
seconds.
Toure, you can talk about David Silva. That was the trio behind Aguero and either Balotelli or Edin Dzeko. And you are talking about the fact that because City has so many facilitators. Listen, it is not the facilitators that you have behind you that is going to mean that you are going to score.
That's the truth. That's what I was trying to clarify.
If you take the team that Ronaldo walked into Juventus, mention the facilitator. Is it Bernardeschi? Is it Paulo Dybala? Is it Mandzukic? I'm just mentioning.
Because an assist only becomes an assist if the guy who receives the
Who
ball
score?
is able to score.
So don't even bring the fact that there are strikers.
So,
there
that's
are
why-
strikers behind.
to add up your point.
Martin Braithwaite had Iniesta behind him.
To add up to it, do you know Ronaldinho's greatness is not necessarily about his assist, because if you want to say Ronaldinho
He had
as a
very-
10,
he had
very little
few
in terms
assists.
of few assists.
But his
it was
influence
just
on the
exactly.
game. So if you are talking about you are comparing the players and you are mentioning the fact that Vinicius plays for Real Madrid, he has the opportunity to play for Real Madrid. Listen, I understand that only a few players will be able to become relevant in Real Madrid. We've also had players who were nobodies, had also gone to Real Madrid and have also overachieved.
So
who wrote Petra Mijatovic? Nobody knew him.
You would choose Erling Haaland over Vinicius.
Any day.
Guys, who would you go for? Erling Haaland, Vinicius? Kofi will probably do us the honor of taking the comments that are coming through from the comment section. This is our Sunday show, the Sports Roundup show. It comes off every Sunday evening from 7 o'clock p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. We are just about 5 minutes away from checking out of the studio. We started our conversation with the interesting narratives that is, popping up in the EPL. Seemingly, Arsenal have literally handed the title to Manchester City with their 3-0 defeat at home to Brighton this evening. Whilst earlier on in the day, Manchester City doing a similar scoreline against Everton. Literally, they strolled through, that game. They were literally operating in fourth gear. But if City beat Chelsea next week Sunday, no matter what happens in the early kickoff between Arsenal and Nottingham Forest, City will become champions, because Arsenal will then have 2 games to play and City would already be 7 points ahead of Arsenal. So even if City decides to lose their 3 games and Arsenal winning their 2 games, City will still win by a single point. So it looks likely that my hair is going to be shaved next week Sunday. I am praying that Chelsea, please postpone that.
The kingmakers.
Let them draw that game. But we went on to look at the Champions League and we decided to, throw the conversation out there. Vinicius Junior, Erling Haaland, in their prime, who would you subjectively have in your team? Kofi says Vinicius, Percy says Erling Haaland. The comments.
Well, PK Justice says Wilfred Bonny Kra was scoring at Manchester City.
How many goals did he score?
So you will not allow viewers to share their
Out here,
Every striker can play in this City team. City, even Alvarez is scoring. So what are you guys saying?
Alvarez is a World Cup winner.
Yes, I mean even Alvarez is scoring.
It's not even; he's a World Cup winner.
So what do you? Why do you think that Karim Benzema or what's his name?
Nobody said Karim Benzema.
Because
Harry
we know
Kane
we've
will
not
score
had the
this City
opportunity to even touch on the Derby de la Madonnina. We'll quickly get some.
Well, I
feel.
think that is dead because
It's dead.
Inter Milan are going to the Champions
You know,
League final.
Kofi, I love to do this.
They are
I love
going
to
to
do
the
this. You take the comment and let me throw some
Well,
trivia.
if
Today I came with some nice trivia. Let me see
Franklin Ajay says if Haaland were to be in this United team, like Kofi will say, he's the best. No, I don't think I would have said that. Is Kofi serious? Yes, I'm very serious. Cam Franklin Ajay says, I'll go for Ellen Haaland. PK Justice says, Kofi Asedu has forgotten Mendy's brother still plays for Real Madrid. Franklin Ajay says, is Kofi's money missing? I don't get the... PK Justice says, Vinicius any day. I don't see Haaland as a tapping. He sees Haaland as a tapping striker.
The kind of goals this boy is score in the tapping.
50% of the goals he scores.
We hear.
Yeah,
50%. I mean, we
he's a tapping merchant.
Tapping merchant. A taller, stronger in Filippo Inzaghi. A taller, stronger in Filippo Inzaghi. Yeah, you know it.
We hear.
He's heading the ball.
So he's a tall blonde Filippo.
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Maybe Percy would help us. You know, the Milan derby, AC Milan, Inter Milan, they're all based in Milan. You know, they all play at the Giuseppe Meazza Stadium. The name of the derby is the Derby della Madonnina. Why that name?
It's for
Anybody who can tell me the origin of that name? You know, the one who gets it right will shave my head.
I'm ready to shave your hair, so let me tell you.
Why the name Derby della Madonnina?
It's actually a derby of the Virgin Mary. The Virgin Mary, that is the derby. There is a statue actually in Milan. You want me to continue? I'm already shaving.
Continue.
There's actually a statue in Milan. Yes, it's actually a statue in Milan, and
Where is Milan?
Milan,
let him finish.
Milan is actually a big place.
So where exactly in Milan? Because if you are going to do the honors, then you need to be very...
Oh, but what
I think yes. If you're able to add that one,
See, I've forgotten. It's actually a square. It's like a square. That is where
like
the
a
statue.
square.
A statue. You know, when you go to Italy, almost every town has its own patron saint. Like Napoli, they have their own patron saint there. So for that is their patron saint over there. So this.
Where is the statue?
So okay, let me help you out. So the statue is actually located on top of the name is the Duomo.
Yeah, I know that.
And the name della Madonnina simply means little. Who can get it right?
Little Mary.
You both got it right, but since I'm helping you,
I told you it is Virgin Mary.
Little Mary.
I told you this Virgin Mary. I told you.
I learnt this from my history of cultures.
Anyway, okay, who is the highest or the top scorer in the Derby della Madonnina? Who is the top scorer in the Derby della Madonnina?
Answer. I mean, but you have said.
Okay.
On Tuesday, AC Milan will try to do the unthinkable by trying to, reverse the 2-0 aggregate that Inter
I'm
had.
guessing.
So we are literally
I'm guessing he plays.
No.
I'm giving you three.
No.
Okay.
Who is the top scorer
Of
in
the
the Derby
Derby
della Madonnina? Yeah.
Shevchenko.
That's Shevchenko. How many goals?
Shevchenko has about 9 goals.
How many goals has he scored?
9 goals.
No. The shipping was on the name Derby della Madonnina.
Shevchenko.
If for anything, you got it right. How many goals?
Why?
No.
I said Shevchenko, I was correct.
How many goals?
I mentioned Shevchenko.
No, but how many goals has he scored?
Shevchenko has 13 goals.
No. Actually close. He has 14 goals. Who
I
is
missed
followed
that
by? Guess.
Adriano.
No. Giuseppe Meazza. Giuseppe Meazza. He actually has
He played for both of them.
13 goals. Okay. Another trivia. So, who has the highest number of appearances?
Javier Zanetti.
No, Kofi.
In the
Derby della Madonnina. Maldini.
Paolo Maldini.
Okay,
It was
so-
either of the two.
So there's this one player who scored the first ever goal in the Derby della Madonnina. But after that goal, he never scored any other goal for any of the Milan clubs till he retired.
That's
In his
Kwesapia.
entire playing career.
Ivan Rekoba.
No. So he scored a goal in the first ever Derby
And he
della
didn't score
Madonnina.
any goal.
He didn't score any other goal in his entire playing
And then
career.
Atubisa.
That's Kwesapia.
He's a Switzerland player called Max Lack. So after he scored the first ever goal,
He was scared.
that's all.
He was scared by
Never in his
Madonna.
career out. So he had to retire from football.
With one goal.
Okay, so guys, these are some interesting facts. Let me try and help you out. One of the last 6 derbies, 4 have been decisive goals in the 90th minute or later. So
Let me also bring my trivia before we go.
Okay.
Who was the last player to score a hat-trick in the Derby Madonnina?
that I can't.
Has to be Lautaro Martinez.
No, he's an outcast. Murray Cardi.
So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today on our show. We appreciate the love and the support, those who sent their messages. So maybe you guys can continue the conversation out there in your homes. Who would you have in your team? Erling Haaland or Vinicius Jr.? I decided to stay on the fence today. Kofi believes that on any other given day, he will go out for Vinicius Jr. Percy believes that he doesn't like the flamboyance, whilst the other players who can do the flamboyance, he just needs a player who score. He goes for Erling Haaland. Come Tuesday, AC Milan will try to overturn the 2-goal deficit. On Wednesday, Manchester City will try and make an appearance for just the second time in the history of the club in the Champions League final by locking horns with Real Madrid. Thank you so much for joining us. Makofi, I did not know we had amazing fans out there. I think I was in the bank 2 weeks ago. I met two guys who easily recognized me. And Sports 101, I don't watch you guys. Wow. Hey, keep up the good my this greetings to Kofi and Percy Charlie. Then I think yesterday, one other guy, I was at the mat at the filling station just around Ayedu, trying to get some few groceries for the family. And a guy stops me and says, Aki, Sports 101. Charlie, you guys are doing a great job. Guys, Charlie, thank you so much for the support. We love you. Keep supporting us. This is our very own Sports 101. Today we had an amazing show. I decided to, be off the scene, but they tried to pull me back. Percy, Kofi, myself. Hopefully we see you again same time next week Saturday. By that time or by Sunday, the Clippers will be ready. I'm going to shave my hair. But good night. Thank you so much for joining us.